All right, all right, all right, there I am. You know, I always get a little nervous before I hit the record button. Even today, after all the video I do, it's just a way of life. But I'm actually really excited. I'm both nervous sometimes because I've tried to go over and make the work that you're going to do to where you spend the time doing the work trying versus trying to understand the work. And so this week, because we're making a shift, as I've been alluding to since week 6, and really since the beginning, right? So we're shifting this week. So in this sense, we're going from like we've done the first 9 weeks. Matter of fact, when you end this week, the state of your app, that our state of our carbon footprint app is the level of functionality that you're going to create in these decision apps, right? So you're not gonna do it all at once. We're gonna take it bit by bit. And so for the next 7, and actually it's 8 because you'll see the schedule as I laid it out in a minute. So for these next weeks, right, for these next 8 weeks, we won't have a code along. We won't have 2, we'll have 1. We'll have 1 discussion, and those will be moved to the first due date of the week. And I know last week I talked about how I would handle, right, releasing these, but since they're actually as a part of the weekly schedule, I'm just going to leave them in here. I gave that some thought as well. So this video is actually going to be part of your week 9 attendance. So this video will also be, you'll see it again in the decision app for step 1, because basically all I'm going to do here is cover the requirements here and just how this is going to work. So as a reply, right, this is the perfect place now that once I've gone over it, once you've watched through it, for you to ask questions, right? Like if you have questions about what I've gone over or the write-up that I've done. So let's do this. And let me just say, in this process, I am going to show you my output, and I'm going to show you my code, and I'm going to show you how I did the write-up. But I show you this with the intent of clarity. And I don't show you this to say this is the way you need to write your code, right? But I also know there's a balance between giving you a solid example of actually what the work would look like. But then going forward, I probably wouldn't. Unless you wanted it, because I'm actually going to be doing the work as well with you, like logically. And here's a perfect time to jump off into the schedule. Is like, here's our step 1. And we go all the way through step 15, right? So, and then the final one will be here. And this one won't be any additional work. This will be just us probably pushing, because you'll place this into your private repo, and on this last one you'll put it in your public, and then we'll share it and look at each other's end result. But in this sense, right, you're going to write the logic and create the variables and describe and come up with what your decision logic is this week. We'll probably do functions. We'll do arrays and objects probably these weeks. So we'll start with arrays and then do objects, kind of see about that, right? So then we'll do form, right? And then we'll do rendering, and then we'll do local storage. And you do local storage this week, and you will do, in there, actually we'll do some form validation as well. So this week we write some custom form validation, and so in your form you'll need to have at least 1 custom validation, but you can also use the HTML attributes we've already seen with required and min and max length, but at least 1 example of custom. And like I said, but that's kind of just giving you the flow of what's going to happen here. So we'll have 7 steps that we do, and basically here's what we're doing is we're taking what you've learned in the first 9 weeks, and we're basically doing that, but now you're writing it for a decision that you make. And I say this, a decision you make on a daily basis, right? Or a decision you make often. And my decision is one I make almost daily, actually daily. So the closer you have to an actual decision, I think the more fun it is to work on and how it more represents that decision. So if I come over here And again, here's the video, or here's the write-up. Okay, so you set up a new folder, My App, in your private repo, create the normal files, right? Make sure you have your HTML linked into your, your JavaScript linked into your HTML, have a README file, and then in your README file, so this is the write-up part, and I'll show you my example, but basically name the app, description of the purpose of the app, what are your variables, decision-making process, and I want you to write this in your own understanding. Make sure you have at least one type of calculation, or shouldn't say type, one calculation, and then what the output will be. Okay, so to give you an example of mine, if I move over to my editor, right, and I look at the README file, so here's mine. I call it the daily activity decider. Okay. Assists me in determining daily activities based on sleep, time of day. Will aid me in maintaining a balanced and healthy life, because this is really what I do on a daily basis. My variables are sleep score, current day, is it a hit day, hit workout day, or is it a run day? And I'll show you that basically it returns true because it just does an or. If it's Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, right, it returns true, else it returns false. And then if it's a run day, if it's Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, then it returns true if it is, else it turns false. And then in my logic, I actually laid out the decision-making process. So if a current day is a hit workout, okay, so sorry, if the current day is a hit day, okay, so if is hit day, right, and the sleep score is greater than 80, then the app decides I should go for a hit workout and increase my, and here's my calculation, and I should have actually had that up in here actually, because not only does it give me the type of workout, it also tells me my BMR, which is your base metabolic rate, how many calories I take in by the day. And on a day I do a hit workout, I can increase my calories some. But if the current day is a hit workout and my sleep score is less than 80, then I go for the app tells me go for a recovery walk and increase my BMR by 10%. So not as much of an increase, you know, and actually I think I would change this to 5 because that's more likely what I do. But then if the current day is a run day, I should have actually changed this to day, then and the sleep score is greater than 90, because on a run day I have to have really good sleep, then I do a VO2 max run. Basically what that is a medium distance run but a high intensity, pretty much running as fast as I can as long as I can. And then in that case I'd increase my BMR by 25%. And if the run day, if it's a run day less than 90, then I go for what's called a zone 2. And I still increase my BMR. It's only one day. Actually, I increase. Yeah. And actually, I'm not sure why my output. I'll have to look at that, but I'll show you my output part of it. And it's basically what decision, right? So examples of the output decision. So in my case, if I move over to my code, right, so here's my constants. Right, now I haven't capitalized these because I know I'm going to end up making them, using them inside of functions. But once, as we work more on it, remember there's certain things that when we have them out in the global, we would. But for this first one, it's fine. So these are the variables I changed, the input, right? And actually, I should note, right, these are the two inputs that I'm changing based on my sleep score and the day of the week. And then in this case, it returns Boolean if is a hit day, if it's the current day is equal to Monday or Tuesday. So if any of these return true, then this is set to true. And the same thing is true for run day, except that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then I set the type of exercise to null, so that I can check if for some reason, and there is a condition in which my logic would not recommend a type of exercise, then I'd want to have output for that. And then I set my BMR to whatever that is based on my age and height, weight. So here's my conditional block. If it's a work day, and, a hit day, and my sleep score is greater than 80, then my type of exercise, would be a hit, so I'm setting the string variable. I would increase my BMR, and I would, actually this is no longer needed. I ended up getting rid of this. So because I ended up changing this, and this is part of what you do. You write it and then you realize, oh, and I ended up changing that to null. So if I don't set it because I started at null, and if it doesn't get set, right, then this is the output. But let me slow down, okay? So then else, if it is a hit day and my sleep score is less than 80, right, then I do a recovery walk, and I only increase, and actually I'm going to change this to 05, so I need to update my docs. If it is a run day and my sleep score is greater than 90, then I do a VO2 max. I increase my BMR. Else, if my sleep score is a run day and my sleep score is less than 90, then I do a zone 2 run, and I increase by 10%. And then in here is my output, right? So this is the output of the decision. If the type of exercise is not equal to null, okay? I didn't want to just set up the variable and not define it, because then I would have had to check for undefined, and I didn't want that, because typically you just want to use something like null in this case. So if it's not equal to null, then I output a message specific to the type of exercise and the BMR, and then else, and in the else case would be if it was not set based on the types of inputs. So an example, one thing that would make that not recommend would be is if it's a Sunday. But what you want to do here is once you you should be testing your code at all times. You should be modifying these values to make sure your logic is working the way you intended it and matches up with your README file. Okay, because that's what I'll look for is when I look at your code, is like, does the write-up that you've done, did you get code that matches that intended output? Okay. And so again, don't write functions this week, just use console.log. Just making sure you have everything set up. You still need to have it connected to the index. Make sure you've populated all the README stuff like I've shown today, and then you should be good to go. But the key is test your code to make sure, right, that it is actually creating the kind of output decision that you expected. Okay, so I just included, right, so this is the actual, now that you're writing it, right? So you need to implement at least 2 condition blocks, right, and use the and or. I used both in mine. Again, try to make these actually represent real decisions and have that level of operators used. Make sure you document your code. Like I did an okay job. I could have done it better here I just put it next to the line, but I definitely could have done a better job of documenting, but at least I got a good start here. Reach out for help. My office hours are Discord, and ask for help as needed. Of course, ask for help, but people are not going to write it for you, nor would you want them to. But go ahead, and your commit message will be, my app step 1. And then next week we'll end up doing a new branch. I'll show you that. And then provide your commit history. Now remember, this is in your private repo. And here's what I'll look for in your work, right? Is did you include all the written sections described above? Did your code meet the requirements? And did your code work and create the desired output? And this is subject to part of your code review. So making sure you understand the logic that you have submitted here, and making sure you can write logic, because now, and you might, if you look through the work that we've done, we've written several times conditional, right? If else. This is very common. So now we're just taking that understanding of the if and the if else, and also combining that with comparison operators to give you an experience of writing code that outputs a decision. It's not really any different in the sense of the carbon footprint, except the carbon footprint was based on the inputs of number of people in the house and the size of the house, it gave us a number that represented that. Well, that output of the number is the decision that it's making, or it's the calculation that it's doing. So it's not as if you haven't done this already. We're just doing it in a little different way. And so again, probably next week I'll have you write functions. Then we'll start on data structures and do forms. And like I said, I kind of have a general map out of the 7 steps that we'll do. All right, I hope this helps you out. Again, this will be your week 9 discussion as well. So reply with questions or comments or anything else. But this week for your work, you are going to create a global JS, implement local storage, 2 big steps. Well, one not so big, the one a little bigger, and then you're going to do some custom validation. And this really at the end of this week, not counting this is the level at which we will end up at step 7 for the app that you will create. All right, I hope this helps you have a better understanding of what the work that you need to do this week. And attempt to make this fun, because the more fun something is, right, the more fun it is to work on. And I probably spent the last hour actually just kind of going over this and creating the output. So give it enough time, because here's the deal: you're going to use this, right? I don't want you to then decide next week I'm going to do a different decision, because we're going to build like we've done on the carbon footprint. Each week we're going to build on this concept. All right. Do that reply, and I'll talk to you later. Make sure you do have working code for this week. Like always, I know week 8 was a bit more challenging, and I've shown you here, so make sure you go through that process of getting starting code for week 9. All right, I'll talk to you later.